Hello, it's Miss O, and today I'm going to talk to you about adjectives and adverbs, those pesky modifiers. So let's start with talking about adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns, so they tell about people, places, things, or ideas. They tell how something looks, sounds, feels, smells, or tastes, and I usually refer to them as the descriptive words of English. And the most popular adjectives that you will probably see or have to identify refer to colors, sizes, and quantity. So some examples I have here are blue shoes, large shoes, two shoes. And then adjectives also answer the questions of which one, what kind, and how much. So they allow you to be much more specific when you are telling about something. So you can say tall chair, leather chair, or numerous chairs. There's also these things called articles, which are definitive words that appear before nouns. And these include the words a, an, and the. Those are your articles there. So some examples of how these are used is a bowling ball, an umbrella, and the flower. And there's a distinct difference between all three of these. A and an, definitely not interchangeable. You probably were taught at some point that you are supposed to use an prior to using a noun that starts with a vowel, and that's true. And then for all other nouns that start with consonants, you can refer to them with a before it, which is mostly right. I will just add that you can use an before nouns that start with a vowel or have a vowel sound. So we have the word umbrella here. We could also say an idea, an ostrich. All of that stuff starts with vowels. But if we had something like an hour, for instance. Hour starts with an H, but it has that vowel sound with hour, and so therefore we use an prior to that. Same thing kind of with a as well, because we use that prior to nouns that start with consonants, but sometimes we have nouns that start with consonant sounds, even though they actually don't start with consonants. And a perfect example of this is the word eulogy. So eulogy starts with an E, but it kind of has that Y-O-O sound with eulogy. So that's a difference there with using a and an. Also, there are proper adjectives, which are formed from proper nouns, and most proper nouns are going to refer to things like country of origin or maybe region of origin, nationality, those kinds of things. So Mexican food, Mexican would be a proper adjective there because it's telling more about the food, and Mexican also gets capitalized because this is a derivative of Mexico. Some other examples that I have listed here are Spanish rice, Polynesian dance, and Florida orange juice. Okay, let's talk about adverbs. Adverbs describe verbs, and I want you to please pay attention to the fact that the word actually has part of its function in it, with it being adverbs. So right there, automatically, you always want to keep in your mind the idea of adverbs and verbs kind of being connected together. However, that's not all that adverbs do. They can also describe adjectives or other adverbs, which makes them a little bit complicated. They answer the questions of when, where, and how. So some examples here are finally arrived, nearby hospital, and easily passed. And most have an ly suffix, except for 5 words that are always adjectives, and those 5 words are here with friendly, lively, lovely, lonely, and ugly. Those words are always going to be adjectives no matter what. But they do have that ly suffix that we usually look for when trying to identify adverbs. Adverbs also tell the extent to which something has happened. So these examples that I give here, angrily walked away. Not only did this person walk away, but they angrily walked away. Happily answered the phone, quietly closed the door, and barely made it in. And all of this stuff will make a little bit more sense, hopefully, when we go over some examples in just a minute. Let's look at some sample sentences for identifying adjectives and adverbs. And these sentences might look kind of familiar if you watched my video on identifying subjects and verbs. I just modified those sentences a little bit to include some adjectives and adverbs here that we could use. So, for the very first one, I really like double cheeseburgers. The first thing you need to do always when trying to figure out adjectives or adverbs or any other part of speech is figure out your subject and your verb first. So subject here is going to be I. What it is that I'm doing in this sentence is liking double cheeseburgers. So I underline the subject once, the verb twice there. Then we have some other words that are here that are kind of in question with words like really, as well as double. The word cheeseburgers is actually a noun because it is a person, place, or thing. So I'm just going to put an N underneath that. So when looking at these two words that I've circled here, we have to figure out what it is that they are modifying or changing or describing, so on and so forth. So with really, I really like double cheeseburgers. Really is modifying our verb like, because not only do I like double cheeseburgers, but I really like double cheeseburgers. So for really, since really is modifying the word like, and like has been identified as a verb, that means that really is going to be an adverb. Now, with the word double. Double is describing the cheeseburgers. Not only are they cheeseburgers, but they are double cheeseburgers. So because the word double is modifying the noun cheeseburgers, double is going to be an adjective. Let's try the next one. Amy plays softball well. So we have to identify our subject and verb first. Subject being Amy. What Amy's doing is that she plays softball. Softball, that is a noun, person, place, or thing. But we do have these words always and well here. So I'll just circle those. Always. Amy always plays softball well. Always is modifying the verb plays. And because it's modifying a verb, it is an adverb. The word well. Amy plays softball well. In terms of what the word well is modifying, it's not modifying softball at all. It's definitely not modifying Amy at all, which would be the two nouns that we have in this sentence. However, I think it is modifying how she plays. So because it's modifying how she plays, again, well is also going to be an adverb. We gladly checked out new books from the library. So again, subject here is going to be we. The verb is going to be checked out. We have a lot of stuff here, but I'm definitely going to circle gladly since it's sitting between our subject and our verb here. We know something's going on with that. I'm also going to circle new. And then when it comes to books and also library, these are nouns. So I'll just put N's underneath those. Okay, so gladly, we gladly checked out new books from the library. Gladly is modifying the verb checked out, so gladly is going to be an adverb. New is describing the books, so new is going to be an adjective since books is a noun. Something else that you might hear about in some of your English classes that I teach about as well is words like the, a, and. I'll underline this 3 times so that nobody thinks this is a verb, but that's an article. So any of those terms, a, and, the, those are articles, and those are actually considered to be special adjectives. But for this exercise, we're just going to identify principal adjectives and adverbs. We're not looking so much at articles. But for the last sentence, Mike gave me great advice. Subject here being Mike. What he did was he gave me great advice. Me is actually a pronoun. I will put a P here. And then advice is a noun because it's a person, place, or thing. But great is a modifier here, and it sounds like it's modifying the word advice, which we've identified to be a noun. So because great is modifying the term advice, great is going to be an adjective in this sentence.